Michael had always been the type to speak his mind. He believed that in a fast-paced world, those who spoke the loudest were the ones heard. But despite his efforts, he often felt ignored or misunderstood. Conversations would drift off course. Meetings would conclude without his points being acknowledged, and his attempts to prove himself only left him feeling frustrated. One day, after a particularly chaotic meeting, Michael's mentor pulled him aside. "Michael," he began, "have you ever noticed that sometimes the most powerful words are the ones left unsaid?" His mentor shared the story of Warren Buffett, who had mastered the art of silence. It wasn't that Buffett had nothing to say, it was that he knew exactly when to speak. Michael decided to experiment. In his next meeting, instead of rushing to contribute, he listened. He observed the flow of the conversation, weighed each point, and when he finally spoke, his words were measured and purposeful. The room grew quiet. For the first time, people truly listened. It was in that silence that Michael realized the power of thinking less, speaking less, and focusing more. Michael's journey is a reflection of the Stoic philosophy we will explore today. Thinking less doesn't mean ignoring problems, and speaking less doesn't mean withholding your thoughts. It means mastering the art of focus, choosing your moments wisely, and letting your actions speak louder than words. Now let's delve deeper into how these Stoic principles can transform the way we think, speak, and live our lives. 1. Reduce stress and anxiety. Number 1. Reduce stress and anxiety. Have you ever felt like your mind is a relentless spinning wheel where thoughts keep repeating in an infinite loop? You dwell on the past, worry about the future, and obsess over how others perceive you. Every moment feels consumed by invisible fears, leaving you to wonder, is there a way to escape this exhausting cycle? The answer is yes, if you learn how to think less. We often mistakenly believe that the more we think, the more control we have over everything. But the truth is, overthinking only makes you a prisoner of your own mind. Worrying about things beyond your control brings no benefits, only eroding your inner peace. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the view he takes of them." Reflect on this statement. When something happens, whether it's a criticism, a scrutinizing glance, or a minor failure, it's your perception that determines your emotions. If you see a comment as a personal attack, you will feel hurt. If you see failure as a sign of weakness, you will endlessly blame yourself. But if you choose to think less and focus only on what you can control, you will no longer be swept away by negative emotions. Imagine standing in a room full of strangers about to join a new skill class. It could be an art class, a martial arts session, or even a dance course. As you step in, you feel nervous. Everyone around you seems familiar with each other, confidently exchanging words and practicing moves while you fumble awkwardly. Your mind starts racing with anxious thoughts. Am I doing this right? What if they laugh at me? What if I mess up? These worries flood your mind, making you hesitant and unable to focus. But what if you stopped questioning yourself so much? What if you simply listened, observed, and reacted naturally? You would notice a significant difference when you let go of uncontrollable worries. You feel free. Most fears are illusions, and true confidence comes from letting go of unnecessary to increase calmness and serenity. Thoughts. Number 2, increase calmness and serenity. Self-care is not just about external actions like exercising or maintaining a healthy diet. It's also about how we nurture our minds. Reading a book in silence, Listening to soothing music or meditating for a few minutes can help us regain balance. When we take time to care for both our mind and body, we naturally become calmer, more peaceful, and more in harmony with ourselves. But in a noisy world where people are immersed in meaningless conversations and endless streams of thought, how can we achieve this state? The answer is simple. Speak less, and let silence do the talking. The less a person speaks, the fewer mistakes they make. Meaningless words not only drain energy but can also cause harm or lead to unnecessary misunderstandings. Epictetus once taught, keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly. This is not just ordinary advice. It's a philosophy of life that helps individuals cultivate self-control, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and maintain inner peace. When one can control their words, they not only govern what they say, but also influence how the world responds to them. Take the life of Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time. He's not the type to use words to show off his intellect or prove himself. Fact. Buffett is known for moments of silence in meetings where he spends most of his time listening rather than speaking. His silence is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of strength. By speaking less, he allows himself time to observe, analyze, and think deeply before making decisions, and when he speaks, his words carry weight. In one notable meeting with senior ladders of Berkshire Hathaway, Buffett remained silent for hours while others debated. His silence created an atmosphere of tension because it carried more weight than the noisy discussions around him. When the moment was right, Buffett spoke one short, concise sentence, and the entire meeting shifted in his direction. Music. 3. Increase focus and productivity. Number 3. Increase focus and productivity. Sophie sat in front of her computer, her fingers lightly gliding over the keyboard, but her mind was elsewhere. An endless stream of thoughts filled her head. Yesterday's conversations, worries about the future, and what others might think of her. An hour passed, and the document before her contained only a few scattered lines. Sophie wasn't short on time. She was simply wasting it. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us." This isn't just a wake-up call. It's a powerful reminder that wastefulness lies not in the number of hours that pass, but in how we allow our minds to be fragmented and distracted by things unworthy of our attention. Sophie's experience isn't unique. In today's world full of distractions, people are increasingly losing the ability to focus. We aren't truly working. We're merely skimming through tasks with a wandering mind constantly pulled away by trivial matters of no real value. The real danger isn't that we're busy, but that we cannot clearly distinguish what's truly important. So what's the solution? Stoicism teaches that focus is a skill to be cultivated. The most crucial lesson is learning to eliminate the unnecessary, reducing pointless thoughts, limiting meaningless conversations, and dedicating our energy to what truly matters. When Sophie realized she was allowing irrelevant thoughts to dominate her mind, she began practicing a simple yet powerful technique. Pausing, taking a deep breath, and asking herself one question: is this worth my energy? For the first time, Sophie recognized that she had been wasting her time worrying about things beyond her control. Comments from others, hypothetical situations that might never happen. These thoughts drained her focus, leaving her work unfinished. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters." This quote, reveals a truth. Not everything deserves your attention to become more effective. Sophie decided to change. She started limiting unnecessary conversations, not by isolating herself, but by choosing what was truly worth discussing. She stopped engaging in meaningless social media debates, ceased worrying about things she couldn't change, and focused all her energy on what she could control: her work, creativity, and meaningful goals. Within a week, Sophie's productivity improved 4-point increase self-control drastically. Number 4, increase self-control. Understanding the importance of self-control is crucial in leading a successful and fulfilling life. Fortunately, there are numerous ways to enhance this ability. The capacity to control negative emotions and impulses is a hallmark of an experienced leader. A person with self-control doesn't easily get caught up in emotional turmoil or allow external stimuli to derail them. In a volatile world where every action can have long-term consequences, self-control is not only a desirable trait, but a significant advantage. Stoic philosophy has long emphasized that calmness and resilience come from within, not from external circumstances. One effective way to achieve this is by thinking less, speaking less, and focusing more. Overthinking can trap us in cycles of worry, insecurity, and a loss of control. Speaking too much can expose our weaknesses, lead to thoughtless remarks, and create unnecessary situations. By practicing our restraint, we master ourselves rather than being ruled by our emotions. Imagine a scenario where someone insults you in a meeting. Your initial reaction might be anger. A part of you may want to retaliate immediately to prove you're not easily bullied. However, what if you pause, refrain from reacting instantly, and simply observe without saying anything? A silence emerges, and in that moment, you reclaim control. You are no longer driven by emotion, but stand in a higher position, where your composure becomes a silent, yet powerful declaration of inner strength. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of self-control. We cannot dictate how the world operates, but we can control how we respond to it. When someone insults you, it is up to you to decide whether it is truly an insult. When an unexpected event occurs, it is your choice, whether to panic or face it calmly. People who lack self-control are easily manipulated by fleeting emotions. A harsh word can ruin their entire day. A minor failure can drain their motivation. But when you learn to focus less on trivial matters, you free yourself from unnecessary mental burdens. You do not let others dictate your mood. For emotions are not facts. They are temporary reactions of the 5. Communicate more effectively. Mind number 5. Communicate more effectively. Effective communication isn't just about exchanging words. It's about forming a deeper connection, understanding the emotions and intentions behind the conversation. While words carry meaning, the true weight of communication comes from the tone, silence, and timing of when you choose to speak or not speak. Learning to say less. Think less about unimportant matters and focus on the core of the conversation ensures that every word you say holds more significance. Take the example of John, a motivational speaker who understands the value of restraint in communication. He doesn't rush to fill space with complicated words or lengthy explanations. Instead, John uses a simple yet powerful tool: strategic pauses. During one of his famous speeches on leadership, he doesn't just dive into theories. He tells stories, slowly building up to key points. Every time he introduces an important idea, he pauses, gives his audience time to process the information, and waits for it to sink in. It's this deliberate silence that allows his words to resonate more deeply with listeners. John knows that silence isn't a void that must be filled. It's a tool that amplifies his message. When a speaker pauses without feeling the need to rush the audience, pauses too, this reflection creates a more profound connection, making his message not just heard, but remembered. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." The same can be said for communication. It's not just a skill. It's a lifelong learning process. When you focus on what truly matters, you'll see how many conversations are cluttered with unnecessary complaints, trivial stories, or meaningless boasts. Instead of engaging in such conversations, ask yourself, is this statement necessary? Does it add value? Does it help anyone? If the answer is no, then silence is the better option. Silence shows self-control, respect for others, and most importantly, respect for yourself. Number 6. Build respect from 6. Build respect from others. Others. There's a truth that few people realize. Those who speak less and control their words well are often more respected. In a world where everyone is in a hurry to speak, where people compete to be heard, it is selective silence that creates power. Those who speak little do not do so because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that the value of words lies not in their quantity, but in their weight. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." A person's value does not lie in the flowery words they utter, but in the magnitude of the things they truly pursue. Those with great ambitions, the greatest leaders, are not those who talk the most, but those who know when to remain silent and when to speak. This is something Stoic philosophers practiced centuries ago. They did not believe in lengthy speeches or persuasion through rhetoric. They believed in self-control and inner strength, which prevented them from being swept away by the need to express or prove something to others. This is what creates true respect, something that cannot be achieved by speaking too much, but can only be built through calmness and self-restraint. Words are a double-edged sword. They can elevate your value, but they can also diminish it in the eyes of others. A person who speaks too much often loses their authority because they make their words too cheap. If you do not know when to stop, you will fall into the trap of talking excessively without truly saying anything meaningful. Observe true leaders. They are not the loudest voices in the room, but the ones who speak the least, yet have the greatest influence. They listen before responding, and they think before speaking. When they do speak, they command attention, because people know that every word they use carries weight. A leader does not need to shout to make employees listen. He does not need to talk endlessly to prove his intelligence. Calmness, restraint, and the ability to speak at the right moment and with the right focus are what earn him respect. 7. Live a more meaningful and simpler life. Number 7. Live a more meaningful and simpler life. We spend too much time chasing fleeting things, only to realize that we are lost among hundreds of things that are not truly important. The human brain is a complex machine, but instead of mastering it, we get swept away by an endless stream of unnecessary thoughts, needless worries, and meaningless words. Have you ever wondered why people who live simply often feel happier? It's not because they lack ambition, but because they understand what is truly worth pursuing. When you pause and take a deep look into your life, you'll realize that many things only add to your anxiety without bringing real value. Thoughts about the past that you cannot change, worries about the future that you cannot control, and meaningless conversations just to fill the silence. These are all just noise that blurs the true meaning of life. When you stop thinking about things beyond your control, you will feel lighter and freer. You will no longer worry about what others think, no longer engage in pointless arguments, and most importantly, you will have enough mental space to focus on what truly matters. There was once a man obsessed with pleasing everyone. He worried about every word he said, fearing that if he did not respond immediately, he would be seen as indifferent. He spent hours on social media trying to prove himself, engaging in endless debates just to defend his opinions. But one day he decided to change. He stopped caring about trivial matters and stopped seeking validation from others. Instead, he spent more time with his family, focused on his work, and spoke only when necessary. His life not only became simpler, but also more meaningful. This is the power of thinking less and focusing more. When you let go of unnecessary worries, you realize that happiness does not come from having more, but from needing less. Living simply doesn't mean giving up ambition or not striving for success. It means knowing what is truly worth investing your mind and energy. Conclusion into conclusion, the power of thinking less, speaking less, and focusing more is central to Stoic philosophy. From controlling our thoughts, to reduce anxiety, to speaking less, to cultivate composure, and focusing on what truly matters. These principles can lead to a more peaceful, meaningful, and effective life. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus emphasize that while we cannot control the external world, we can control how we respond to it. That control begins with our thoughts, words, and focus. Are you practicing these principles in your life? Which do you find most challenging? Reducing overthinking, managing your speech, or maintaining focus? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Wisdom Unveiled so you won't miss out on more inspiring content. Continue your journey by clicking the video on your screen now. Music.